Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to make a cloud in a bottle. Great thing about this experiment is that it doesn't require any particularly specialist scientific instrumentation or kit. So a plastic bottle, we have a bung in the plastic bottle and a valve. You can get these just off the internet, buying in packets of 10. It's just a car tyre valve. And then to connect that up, we use a bicycle pump. And this one's already got the bung inside. So we have to think about what goes to make a cloud. So our ingredients for a cloud are some water. So we're going to just go and get some water. Okay, so I've got some water. Because I'm going to put liquid water in here, I don't need much at all, because liquid water, if you turn it into a gas, you could get a lot of gas out of a very small amount of water. So literally a teaspoonful of water should be more than enough. What we're going to do with the pump is we're going to simulate what happens in the atmosphere. So quite often if you look at the top of a hill, you'll see clouds forming. And that's because what's happened is the air has cooled as it's rising. To quickly get to the top of a mountain, what we're going to do is we're going to change the pressure in here, because that's exactly the same process. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect up our pump, and then what we're going to do is we're going to warm this bottle up. So warm up the air and water inside this, and then we're suddenly going to release the pressure in here, and in doing so the temperature in here is going to drop very, very quickly. So, and that's going to be the equivalent of standing at the bottom of the hill and then suddenly going to the top of the hill with our air parcel, which is inside this bottle. So we're going to cool it very, very quickly and see exactly what happens. I'm going to slowly pump this up. We have to warn people because sometimes this bottle might go off, flying off, which can be quite alarming, and it also pops. So we can see that we've already got our cloud forming there. You can see the cloud, and it's slowly dissipating as well, but it's still moving around. And we've only put water in there, there's nothing else actually gone in there. Okay, so we can see the cup here, 32 degrees. It's interesting to point out this is upside down, which makes it even more fun for me to position the bottle in the correct position. So we've got the reference point of the cup, which is 32 degrees. The lowest background temperature is 23 degrees, and now we're going to increase the pressure inside the bottle and see what happens. I think you know what's going to happen, but it's nice to see. So we can see the temperature in the bottle is now increasing. So it's not going to get up to 32 degrees, but it's certainly increasing the background. And you can see the temperature dropping back very, very quickly. To make the cloud better, we can actually add some pollution into this bottle. Now, I don't want to go outside and stand beside a car or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of my pollution sticks. Now, pollution sticks, you can buy them from most shops. Some people refer to them as matches, but I like to call them pollution sticks because that's exactly what they are. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strike a match, I'm going to put it into the bottle, and that will put some pollution instantly into the bottle. However, we have a smoke alarm in this room, so I'm just going to disappear off. I'm going to strike the match outside because we don't want to set off the smoke alarm, and then I'll come back. Okay, so we've hopefully averted the evacuation of the building by striking the match outside. You can see I've just struck the match, dropped it into the bottle, struck the match, dropped it into the bottle, and now I'm going to repeat the procedure, but this time we've got a bit of pollution in there. What the pollution does is it provides a seed for the water to condense onto, because that's the process that's happening inside here. The water is condensing when it gets cold and forming the droplets that we can see, just like if you breathe onto a cold mirror. And see if we get a better cloud this time. So once again, I'm pressurising up the bottle. Try again. So the bottle wants to fly off a bit like a rocket. This is a very fine balance, because if you stick the bung in too much, you get very high pressure and the bottle does take off like a rocket. Just like that. As you can see, it hits the wall with some force. Obviously, if you're doing this at home, make sure no one's standing over there. Now, I think from memory, that's a better cloud than we saw before. Okay, now one thing to think about is what's going to happen if we increase the pressure in here. Now, as we do so, the cloud has suddenly disappeared. And that's like what happens in a high pressure system. So quite often if you're watching a weather forecast on the television, people will tell you there's a high pressure system, which means nice clear blue skies, and that's exactly what's happening here. So as we increase in the pressure, we're warming up the atmosphere slightly, which is making some of the clouds that may exist in the atmosphere evaporate, so they disappear. So we're just getting exactly the same process happening in here. So like when people talk about a high pressure system hanging over the country, you can quite have nice clear blue skies, and it doesn't matter what time of year it is, it's just due to the high pressure system. So you're going to have lovely blue skies in the winter, crisp mornings, or nice blue skies during the summer. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, it's just because of the pressure changes what's called changes the temperature of the air in relation to the dew point, and the dew point is the temperature at which clouds start to form.